What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Celebrate Herself podcast. How is everyone's week going? Bitch, if you're in California, are you good? It's so weird. I'm sure you've heard about it if you haven't, but basically these dumbass hoes threw a gender reveal party where there was a smoke bomb or something, and now the whole state's on fire. And I remember on Sunday, it just looked so weird out. You could just tell there was fires. It was kind of just the sky was really dark in the middle of the day, and it's kind of you see that and you think, oh, it's gonna rain or something. It literally looked like storm clouds, but it's smoke. And ever since Sunday, it's Wednesday now, every day has been cloudy and just the lighting's weird. I'm sure if you've been somewhere where there's been fires going on, you just know that kind of orange sunlight that's almost spooky. It looks like it's a filter. It's just weird. And then seeing all the pictures from the Bay and from Oregon where the sky is literally orange and red and it's dark in the middle of the day, it's just it's just really the apocalypse. It's great. Just what the fuck. But we do have some topics low-key. I feel I don't know, I just feel kind of tired this week, and low-key I'm is it because of the fires? Because I feel physically just so dehydrated, and this weekend it was really, really hot. 116, it got up to 116, which is not normal for here. I was just and literally since then, it hasn't been 116 since this weekend, but every day I just wake up and I feel dehydrated and just my body is tired. Not necessarily tired, I want to take a nap, sleepy, but just my body feels tired. And I was saying this in my vlog, but I walked to the grocery store earlier this morning and it was hard. I don't want to say hard to breathe, but I just noticed it. I feel if there wasn't a fire going on, fires, I would just think am I out of shape? It was that kind of sensation. But I think the air is just so thick and gross, and it's it's not even right next to me, so it's just crazy how much it all still is connected. The winds, everything. I was kind of ew. So it's just really bizarre. But I definitely noticed in general, since moving here, I feel my nose is always stuffed lightly, not when you're sick and you can't breathe it all through your nose, but it takes effort. And I feel already on top of that, just genetically, that's just me. I feel I've never really been able to breathe out of my nose well, so on top of it this, I just feel I sneeze every day, and I'm just used to it now, so I'm whatever. But then thinking about it, I'm that's not normal. The air quality is just so bad. And I know I've talked about this before, but when I go back to Washington, it's one of the first things I notice is just how clean the air feels. And I remember that when I went to the Bay last year, just being what is this feeling that I'm feeling? I'm oh, it's just cleaner air. We're right next to the water. It's just cleaner. I had my cold brew today that I made at home. Love saving millions of dollars. But I put honey in this. Basically, I had raw honey, and if you've had raw honey, it's it's solid, it's not liquid, so I put it in the microwave for just a couple seconds so it would kind of melt down. But then, of course, as soon as I put it on the ice, it got solid again. And for some reason, this is such a deep memory, but I grew up reading the Little House on the Prairie books. My mom would read them to me and my sister, and then I think I read them. I haven't read those literally since I was a little kid. So I would love to read them now from an adult perspective, and also just with more historical knowledge and context. I feel I'd just be able to I don't know, it would make more sense. You're not a little kid oh yeah, they went to the stream. Let me know if you read them though. I remember watching the show a couple times, but it was mostly the books. But in the third one, where it's from the little boy's perspective, me acting I don't know all their names. It's just so random that this made me think of this. But there was a part in it where their parents went out of town, so all the kids just acted up. They were doing, I think what made me think of this is they made candy And I don't know if the tea was like they used up all the sugar in the house or something, but they were just like making candy, and I don't know if they had to put it over ice or like, because ice was also like a big part of that book, like when they had to go get ice for winter and like put it with the sawdust. This is literally so random. But point being, they basically had an antic, but their antic, because they were like kids, they weren't like teens, I don't think, but their antic was like, let's make candy and use all this sugar, and then we're gonna go sit in the parlor where like we're never allowed to be, and we're just gonna sit there and like just made me think of myself. People have been anticing since the beginning of time, like, except obviously that's like different, but let me know if you read those. It was such a big part of my childhood. Speaking of being a kid though, Bidney put me onto Big Mouth, and I'd always like seen it and heard about it, but I just never watched it, so I'm finally like watching it, and it's funny, and like it's like something kind of to like have on, and you don't have to pay too close attention to it, but it's also like entertaining, like you can also just watch it, you know. But if you haven't seen it, it's like a cartoon but for adults, and it's just kind of about like these middle school kids going through puberty and like, you know, just going through all these like changes for the first time. And I guess since watching it for this past week or so, like it just really makes me reflect on like how middle school was for me and how puberty was for me. And I thought of this, or I talked about this in my Q&A that I just posted, but it's like, wow, if I could go back, because I just feel like so much stuff like didn't matter, and I just cared so much. It's like obvious, I mean, it's just normal at that age. It's like, I don't know. Okay, let me restart. We live in a society, period. But we live in a society where like sex and, you know, talking about our bodies and like weird stuff, it's like, it is weird and it does feel uncomfortable. And I just feel like so much is not talked about, or we feel uncomfortable asking, or like we bring something up and the adults around us or the people, our peers, whatever, say that that's weird, and like we feel ashamed, so like we just never talk about it again. But then it's like we never really know, are we normal? Like, is what I'm experiencing normal? Like, do other people's bodies do this? Like, are these thoughts normal? Like, etc. And you can apply that to like sex or puberty or like our bodies, and then also really like everything, like mental health, or like just so many different things. Like so many things are just not talked about openly. And I feel like especially at a young age when we're first experiencing these things, it's like there's so much shame around it. And so then we just go through life like it's like we don't know. So that's why I always say like education is just so powerful, because the more we are aware of like our bodies are normal. Like I think the biggest example, or just a main example that comes to mind, is like vaginas smelling like vaginas. And like maybe when you first like growing up, or you first get your period or whatever, you're like, it smells different, like and you know, then there's all this stigma in society like, oh, don't smell like fish, or like don't smell like, oh my god, like use this product, you need to douche, you need to use this, you need to use Summer's Eve. And so we just feel like all this shame, and because everyone is kind of experiencing this shame, nobody wants to talk about it, because it's like, what if I'm the only one that's experiencing this? I don't want to be weird. I don't want people to make fun of me. You know, you end up buying these products and giving these companies your money, and then ultimately ruining your pH and ultimately harming yourself. Versus if we kind of knew from the beginning, like, vagina smells like vagina, tastes like vagina. If it smells like this or this, maybe something's off. Look into it, but it's not supposed to smell like flowers or like fucking a tropical breeze, you know? That's just not realistic. So stuff like that. And it just, there's like literally every topic, any category, I feel like you could apply this to. Like, oh, it's like you don't know as a kid, and you go so long not knowing, and then finally you learn, like, oh. Or like with sex, you know, oh, I feel shame around sex, or like, oh, like this is weird, or I feel weird masturbating because it's just like I've been taught to not talk about it, or that it's like gross, or that it's something I shouldn't do, or that I'm dirty if I do this. And then ultimately that is harmful, because then it's like you're either not having safe sex, or they're physically not safe, or just like emotionally not safe, like you're just going along with stuff because you think that's just how it is, whatever. So I was just kind of like, I've been thinking about all of that, and that's something I've always kind of like thought of. If you know me, we love a reflection and a like, oh my god, I finally learned. But then especially watching this show, it's like, oh my god, like I remember that, like the early puberty days, like that is crazy. Like I'm like, I wish I could go back with like the knowledge that I know now, and just like the realizations. And I guess that's life. It's like you can't just know everything all the time at every age, like since you were born. But it's like, okay, well, I could have known more if like we lived in a society where more stuff was talked about, or it was more accepting. It was more accepted, you know, to talk about stuff openly. And y'all know how I feel about sex ed in this country. It would just be so different, and I feel like so many more people would be so much more comfortable in themselves, because you would just like know the vibes. Like you just be like, yeah, this is normal, it's fine. Like, you know, it's just like, oh my god. Yeah, I feel like I have no other like words to say about that. But I guess I just wanted to bring it up because I was thinking about it, and I also just want to know like what you guys, like what your guys' thoughts are on that. Like, it's like, damn, if I could go back and tell my past self, like, it's okay, you don't need to stress so much about this, or like, and that you can really apply to anything as well, but like it's just, it's not a big deal. Like, no one cares as much as you think they do. Yeah. And that also just reminds me that time flies, and I feel like I talk about that in every podcast and every vlog all the time, but it's like time really flies. And I just constantly want to remind myself to like, I don't know, I was talking about, I think in the last episode, like how I need to push myself to do new things or just do different things, because I'm very like routine oriented, like schedule. Like I just want to, if I find something that works, I'm just going to stick with that, because like, I don't know, and it can be a blessing, but also it's like, you know, we make new memes and new lols and new antics by trying new stuff and talking to new people and like whatever. So just reminding myself to like do that more, and to just, I don't even want to say take more risks, but just like do more shit, because it's like time just flies. You'll be looking at your snap memes like, oh my god, that was really 3 months ago, and it just, time went by like that, when you can't snap with nails. Damn, I'm losing. I already lost 3 nails. I need to just take these off, they look so bad. But yeah, it's just like, you gotta do whatever you want, because bitch, the time's gonna go by either way, so you might as well just like enjoy yourself and have a good snap meme to look back on, you know? So I'm on a part of TikTok where like I feel like there's the call her daddy stans, and then there's the people who are against it, and I definitely relate more with that, because I just feel like, I don't know, I just remember when it was really popping, like before all the tea, whatever. I always felt like you know, everyone's talking about this, like the clips always come up on YouTube, like I feel like I should be into this, but every time I would try to watch it, or a clip would come up on Twitter or wherever, I would just be so annoyed. Like I'd be like, these bitches are just not relatable to me. Like, and I think I've talked about that once or twice, but it's just like, I'm just like, you guys are kind of like, you seem like someone I wouldn't hang out with. Like anyway, I don't know her, them, whatever. So point being, I saw this girl's TikTok, this random girl who was talking about how there's a lot of internalized misogyny on that podcast, and I was like, thank you. And I've seen TikToks and just like people talking about that podcast in that way, like explaining how, you know, it's kind of meant to be empowering, but it's really kind of like targeted, I want to say for the male gaze, like appropriate for men to look at, like men aren't going to be offended. A lot of internalized misogyny in the sense that, like, you know, I feel like base level, like, okay, I want to be a little more woke, is like, hook up with whatever you want, like, just take part in hookup culture, like, you shouldn't have to care, you shouldn't catch feelings, like, you should just be able to do whatever you want. And like, you know that meme where it's like the topic, and then like the universe just gets bigger and bigger, and it's like you just have more deeper and deeper realizations. I hope I'm explaining that well, but you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. But that would be like the first one. And then I feel like the second or the third or the fourth one would be like, you know, how about instead of taking part in this kind of patriarchal system where it doesn't really necessarily benefit you in the end, we just throw out the system of like hookup culture. Like, I need to just like have sex with this person and pretend like I don't have feelings and never talk to them about anything. And like, you know, it's like maybe that works for you, but I feel like for a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of anyone, it's like, this isn't really fulfilling me. And I really related to that TikTok and her explanation of it, because I feel like for so long, like, I kind of thought that, like, I should be able to hook up with anyone and just, like, do whatever I want. But then I'm like, I don't really like doing this. like it's not fulfilling. And, you know, I say that I'm okay with this and this is what I want, but it's, like, really not. And that doesn't mean that I need to be, like, in love with someone or have to be in a relationship with someone, but there needs to be, like, something more. You know, you don't, and she said something like, you don't need to take on the traditional male role in the hookup where, like, I'm just here to fuck and then dip. If that works for you, again, that's fine, and you should be able to do that. And, you know, it's not about, like, slut shaming or, like, you should only be with, like, however, like, but I guess just in the sense of, like, if you feel like you have to tell yourself that you don't care, or, like, if you're kind of questioning, like, is this really worth it? Am I actually just doing this because I feel like, oh no, I should be able to do this, but it's actually not, you know? Like, it's not necessarily you're going back into, like, I need to be wholesome and not, that sex is dirty. Again, if you want to do that, go ahead. But it's like, I feel like a step forward. Like, okay, this system, this hookup culture is just not working. So what, even if it's a friends with benefits or just a hookup or whatever, it's like, what does that look like for me? Like, what is going to fulfill me and benefit me? Even if it is just a hookup, it's like, it doesn't need to be this traditional, like, you can't be nice to me, you can't, like, you know? And I feel like a lot of women can relate, but it's like, oh, we don't want to seem too clingy, or like, we don't want to communicate because we don't want to seem crazy, or like, you know, we just want to be a chill girl. Like, we don't want to have drama. We don't want it to make it seem like we care more than we do. And I feel like, again, that can just be very damaging. And, you know, there's a way to go about communicating your boundaries and what you're comfortable with and what you kind of want it to look like, whatever the relationship is, without coming off too strong. Because, you know, communication is important, but I've always said this, communicating in, I feel like oh my god, right as I'm about to make my point, communicating in a way that the other person is going to understand is the most important thing. Like, you can't just write a huge paragraph to a guy and, like, hope that a lot of guys aren't going to respond to that. Bitch, I don't want to respond to that, you know? It's like, you can do it in a way that is reasonable. And if you're dealing with someone reasonable and who actually cares about you in some regard, who actually respects you as just a person, they're going to understand. And if they don't, then, like, you know. So I just want to, I don't know, I just feel like I need to say that too. Like, the way that you communicate with your bestie or your mom or, like, whoever is going to be probably different than the way you would communicate this to, like, a guy you're hooking up with. And I just feel that because, I don't know, I feel like I've had guy friends who, like, show me their texts with, like, girls or their girlfriend or whatever, and it's just like sis had the right idea of, like, communicating this, but it's just like, it wasn't well received. So you just kind of have to, like, think about that. And yeah, but bottom line, like, you should communicate and set your boundaries, because otherwise it's like, you don't just want to be going along with something like, oh, well, it's not that bad, or like, maybe he'll like me, maybe this will, like, be something different, or like, oh, you know, whatever, I just want to be chill, I don't want to be, like, too emotional or too crazy, because that is also damaging. So just finding that sweet spot. And as far as, like, I'm trying to think of, like, how this is related, because I know it is, but I'm like, how can I explain that it's related? There goes the camera. No one commented if they want to see the video or not. I don't think So it's like, I'm just gonna not, because low-key, I said this before, but it's hard to like match the audio with the video. It's always like a little off. So I'm just like, okay, fine. You get 20 minutes in my face and then it's over. Let me turn off the light too, TBH. It's like, God, now we can have chill hours. Like the real podcast can start. No. But one time, my friend was telling me about this antic where like this guy came with this girl, and then the guy was kind of just like talking to a bunch of other girls, and like then asked my friend to go pick up food with him, but not the girl that he came with, and it was just very like uncomfortable. And my immediate reaction to that was like, whoa, that's fucked up. And then I'm like, well, I was like, am I like, I think I said something like, sis needs to have some self-respect, like the girl he came with. And then I was like, is that like being judgmental? Like, am I, because I don't know their situation, I don't know what kind of agreement they have. And I guess I came to the conclusion that in my eyes, I was viewing it through like how I would experience that. Like if I went to a function and the guy that I came with that invited me like was talking to all these other girls and like asking other girls to like go to the store with him, but not me, like I would be pissed. And I guess I was thinking of it in the sense that like I hope this girl isn't just like going along with this because she likes him and she just wants to be chill. You know, I hope this is like, this is just, you know, they know that this is the deal. Like, they actually know, like, both of them. Like, I hope this is ethical, you know? I hope it's not just like, yeah, I'm a guy, like, I'm gonna do whatever I want, but you need to just sit here and, like, watch me talk to all these other girls in front of you, you know? And, I mean, it's like, I don't know them, like, I don't know the tea, but I guess I was just critically thinking and, like, kind of applying it to my own life and relating it to my own life and, like, how I would handle a situation like that, because it was just, it's like if you say that, like say the situation, it just sounds kind of like, okay, why is he doing that, like, bro? But then it's like, you don't know. But then I'm like, if I was that girl, that wouldn't be my arrangement if that's what the arrangement is. So I was just like, I hope she's not playing that I just want to be a chill girl route, you know? So just like, don't, at the end of the day, you just have to put your own boundaries and your own self before anything, and don't just go along with something because you just don't want to like start a ruckus, because like it's like you don't necessarily even have to start a ruckus. Just makes sense, you know? Don't be a chill girl. Like, you don't have to be, oh my god, I'm so crazy, or like, oh my god, but you can communicate boundaries and have whatever relationship model you want. We just don't want to be the crazy girl, you know? You want to be the chill girl, but it's like being the chill girl is still damaging. It's just in a less aggressive way. So speak up and yeah, communicate efficiently. Don't just communicate efficiently. Let me know if you guys have any like stories that come to mind, or like, I don't know, your own self-reflections if you ever thought about this. And yeah, I did this whole rant in like my video, my Q&A, because someone was like, how's the single life? And I just went on this whole rant. So if you want to see it, if you want to watch it, go watch it. But if you've seen it, then you know. Hilarious. I mean, like, hilarious because it's so true. The last thing I wanted to talk about, it's kind of a quick podcast today, y'all. I honestly thought that I had nothing to talk about, and I just sat down and I was like, okay, I actually do, but I just know it's gonna be like a short one. Like, bro, it's just like I feel fucking tired, but it makes sense because Mars is retrograde. Mars went retrograde at the beginning of September, I believe. Oh, September 9th, so it's literally today. Mars retrograde in Aries. So usually if Mars is in Aries, you know, that is literally its sign. But since it's retrograde, it's going back, we might feel less energy. Because think of like an Aries, you know, they're kind of like boom, like just like energy and like, I don't know, I just think of like Aries as a really, really fiery sign. Like obviously it's a fire sign, but just like really, really like, they can be kind of aggressive or like almost in your face, you know, just like, it's like, whoa, like just a lot of energy. So if the planet is in, if Mars, the planet of Aries, is in Aries, but it's going backward, you might feel just very like drained of energy. This is wellandgood.com. They said this Mars retrograde cycle asks all of us to excavate our personal power packs and remember that we have every right to be here in the first place. Check any energy sinks or sources of depletion and come ever closer to exactly what really fuels our engines. About taking necessary steps before you charge into action, and it probably involves a little maintenance. Mars holds the energy of the divine masculine, and we can use this Mars retrograde to understand where the possible imbalances are between the divine feminine and masculine in our bodies and how we can change and heal from our realizations. So it's going to be a lot of realizations of, I guess, like what fuels us energetically and like, what was the other thing that I read? Mars is the planet of ego, motivation, aggression, and libido. And retrogrades are a time where they get turned upside down. It's a time where your sense of motivation, how energetic you feel, and your sex drive begin to slow down and behaviorally. Yeah, I feel like motivation, that's a good, that's like the word I was looking for. Like if I feel like you aren't motivated. And this, again, like astrology, it's like it doesn't have to be something scary or like, oh no, like everyone always gets freaked out about Mercury retrograde. It's just a time to have realizations and like ask yourself, where do I get my energy from in my life? Like my spiritual energy, my sexual energy, like what fuels me and what drains me. And, you know, just don't, I guess, be afraid to take things slow. Because it's like, okay, yeah, life would be great if we were like so happy all the time and so motivated all the time and just like everything was the perfect, sorry if you have beef with Leos, but the perfect Leo season day and just like nothing was wrong and like every planet was in the best place and like whatever. But it's just, that's not life. You know, there's seasons of life. We need times for antics and we need times for realizations and reflections, and we need those hangover days, you know. I'm not saying this is that, but you know what I mean. Oh my god. Bro, can I just say, sorry this is off topic, but I had like the best hungover day the other day. Like I just, like I was enjoying it, but then in the back of my mind I was like, this is just so great. Like, you know when you just like wake up with all your besties and they're all still there and like you go to breakfast and you just are drinking Pedialyte together and it's just like, it was just so great. Like I was like, if high school me could see me now, like it's not even like it was like that crazy or exciting or anything, but you know, you just need to romanticize your life more, period. Anyway, it says don't start any new relationships, but it's like, honestly, just do whatever you want. You just gotta be just like, you know, you just gotta be aware. You just gotta journal, bitch. Mars retrograde is a recipe for passive aggression and growing resentment. Try to be upfront without being aggressive. Show others you're eager to compromise. Work hard no matter how shitty and tired you feel. They're like, this is gonna suck. No, it's just realizations and like, yeah, it's fine. Like, it's fine. The rewards will be well worth the wait. Yeah, like retrograde, again, reflections. How many times can I say it? But yeah, we have that to look forward to. I feel like for the rest of the year, it goes back direct on November 13th. So a couple months. So it's going to be fine. Like, don't worry about it. It's really not something to stress about. But I guess it's like if you are feeling kind of just like drained energetically or just like unmotivated, this can just, you know, give you some context as to why. And it can just remind you to, again, reflect, journal, ask yourself, like, when in my life, in my daily routine, do I feel the most energized? Do I feel the best? And when do I feel motivated? And what makes me feel just like not cute? I feel like I have just been trying to pay a lot more attention to energy. And like I said in a past podcast, vibes don't lie. What would life be without vibes? But I think it was I don't think it was in a vlog. Was it in a vlog or a podcast? So you guys let me know. But I was talking about that feeling, just like the feeling or the vibe you get from someone when you first meet them, and how usually that's like always right. At least for me, like, again, apparently some people don't feel vibes, which like I can't even imagine. I feel like anyone that listens to this probably does feel vibes. Vibes attract vibes, you know. But just that, and then also just paying attention to your own energy. I feel like this whole past year, and especially since reading that trauma book, The Body Keeps the Score, And just, following more therapists on Instagram, I've just become a lot more aware of like my vibes, I guess, or like my emotions, and just like if I'm in a social situation or I start thinking about something, or I see a notification from someone and I get a certain feeling, like why do I get that feeling? Like if someone says something and it really triggers me and I'm just like, I'm like, ew, I just try to, take a deep breath and then just think like, why does this trigger me? And just being really honest with yourself. And I don't know, I just feel like personally I've learned that I can learn so much from emotions and from uncomfortable moments and from feeling like feeling not cute. It's like you can actually learn about yourself and learn about like why things aren't the way that they are, and it just gives life more context, your life, So that's why journaling is so important, because you can like write it all down and make connections, and you can also just keep track of it. Yeah, people ask me like how I journal. I honestly don't do it as much as I want to, because low-key I just feel like I'm lazy, and sometimes writing on paper is just like with nails, it can honestly just be like physically uncomfortable on my hand. But when I do journal, I have been trying to more like these past few months. I just honestly write, like I feel like something will be on my mind to trigger me to journal, and whether it's like something really good or something that's bugging me, I just try to write about what happened and like what feelings came up and why I am feeling this. And I guess I try to like think of stuff that has made me feel like this in the past, and just kind of try to trace it back. And it's like, oh, this actually reminded me of like this that happened to me, and like something not good happened, or it just like I didn't feel cute at the time. So anytime, you just learn a lot from yourself. So reflections are important. Do you guys journal? Let me know. Do you do it regularly? Some people journal every day. I feel like if I really put my mind to it, I could do that. But I also feel like most of the time I am pretty like chill. I'm just a chill girl. But I usually just do it when like something very emotional happens, whether it's good, like I just feel so good and I'm like, things just feel so right now and I want to document it. And then also just when something triggering happens, you gotta write about that too, so you can heal. I really want to reread The Body Keeps the Score, TBH, because y'all remember it took me like years to finish. I need to reread it, like actually reread it. Also, y'all do not yell at me, but I did not read my book that much this week. My new book. Yeah, but I'm gonna read after this. I promise. So thank you guys so much for listening. Let me know your thoughts on any of these topics. Thank you so much for all the support. And last week I feel like so many of you guys were posting this on your story, posting a screenshot if you're listening on your story and tagging me. And it just honestly means a lot to me, because y'all know I'm just a random bitch at the end of the day. So to know that people like hear my voice and my thoughts and like resonate with it or like relate in some way, it just really makes me feel good, because I just feel like that's like life, like we're all connected, and it's just like really cool. Like it's when yoga with Adrian is like, think of how many people are doing this same video at this very same time, and you're in the meditation like, oh my god, that's crazy. Yeah, that's how it makes me feel. So I will talk to you guys next week. Love y'all.